The Galaxy Fold 7 has obviously received a lot of praise, but at the same time, there's a ton of people upset about a couple of the decisions that Samsung has made. So at the time of recording, I've been using the Fold 7 for about 2.5 weeks now. Samsung was kind enough to send me a review unit before the launch. They have no bearing on this video. They have absolutely zero expectations. As a matter of fact, I don't even have to make a video if I don't want to. But that being said, these are my honest thoughts about the phone, and we're going to lay out all those specific pain points. So the biggest and most consistent complaint that I've heard about this phone has got to be the battery life and charging speeds. Now, obviously with this phone being as slim as it is, one of the features that took a hit here is the battery size. The battery size on this year's Fold is 4,400 milliamp hours, and Samsung elected not to go with silicon carbon batteries, which likely would have net them a much larger battery capacity. However, it probably would have bumped up the price a bit. And this thing's already mega expensive, coming in at $2,000 USD. So not only is the battery capacity smaller than the Google Pixel 9, but by today's standards, the charging speeds are very slow as well, coming in at just 25 watts. Now look, yes, this battery requires a bump before the end of the day, absolutely. But let's be real here, there aren't many phones that don't. So while this is a valid complaint, especially for a phone that's coming in at $2,000, to me, its thinness and just overall comfort in my hands is well worth having to charge this phone once a day. Because like I said, I'd be doing that with the majority of other phones anyways, especially my iPhone 16 Pro Max. I don't think this thing has ever gotten more than 1 day of battery life for me. So the next big complaint is the removal of this guy here, the S Pen, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I honestly don't see it as a big deal. I don't know the specifics, but I highly doubt that more than 20% of people who have phones that have an S Pen use it more than once or twice every 1 or 2 months. Like, I just pulled the S Pen out of my S24 Ultra, and this is probably the 5th time that I've had it out in 2 years. I'm calling the removal of the S Pen an absolute non-issue because in the last 2.5 weeks, there hasn't been a single time that I thought to myself, you know what would be fire right now? An S Pen. The next big one is this little camera right here for 2 reasons. Number 1 is the placement of it being too close to the center because apparently it's distracting during use of this inner display. I think we've all been fed phones with front-facing pinhole cutout cameras. Try to say that 10 times fast. Fed phones with front-facing pinhole cutout cameras. Fed phones with front-facing cutout cameras. I think we've all been fed phones like this for so long that no matter what I use, it just blends in for me. I mean, sure, it's there, but your brain just automatically does a fantastic job of hiding that whenever you're watching a video. Honestly, if millions of people can watch videos with this thing in the way, then like, what are we even complaining about? The dynamic island is an absolute monstrosity, and it still doesn't bother me when I'm watching videos on YouTube or whatever. Issue number 2 is that people are upset that it's no longer an under the display camera, and I'm pretty sure Samsung did that to increase the overall quality of the camera. But this whole situation kind of confuses me because there's already a front-facing camera on the front display. There's never been a time when I've thought to myself, I really need to open this up and take a selfie using this one. Like, this is just uncomfortable and looks silly. As a matter of fact, I've only done it once and it was extremely forced because for the sake of this review, I just wanted to say that I've used it. I guess the number one use case for that camera is if I'm on a video call and I decide to prop the phone on a table like this while the person that I'm talking to is up here. But even that's a very niche use case. I would rather just prop my phone this way and still use the one that's on the front. And finally, the last big complaint is this massive camera bump. And honestly, there's no way around this one. Like, this is definitely something that has annoyed me while using this phone. The second you put this thing on a flat surface, it just starts to shake it to the max automatically. Like, it's very annoying to put this down and even try to type on it real quick. They've definitely got to do something about that. And the unfortunate thing is, maybe you could like buy a case or something that would help mitigate that issue, but then that defeats the whole purpose of the phone being so nice and thin. So that complaint for sure, I'll ride with that one. Now, if none of those things scared you off, then you're definitely in for a treat because this is honestly a fantastic phone. This is probably the phone that I've been the most excited about for the last year and a half maybe. And I'm somebody who didn't care about foldable phones at all because I always just thought they were a gimmick. And I know I'm gonna get called a glazer or a shill or whatever, which is absolutely crazy because I'm fully ingrained in the Apple ecosystem. I've got a studio display behind me with an M4 Mac Mini. I'm sitting in front of an M4 MacBook Pro. I just showed you my iPhone 16 Pro Max. I'm fully ingrained in Apple through and through. And even still, I'm considering completely switching to this guy here because there's just no beating it. Like, it's absolutely perfect right now. I don't know. It's hard to explain. You definitely need to go into a store and just play around with this phone yourself, get hands on it and see what it is that people are talking about. I know a lot of people think it's just, you know, YouTubers glazing and trying to promote a phone just because they're getting paid. Number one, I'm not getting paid. Like I said, Samsung gave me this phone with zero expectations. It's a loaner phone, so it's not mine. I still got to buy my own personal one. Just using this phone for the last couple of weeks, it's tough to want to go to anything else. Maybe all those feelings that I just expressed are why somebody called me a Samsung Knight on TikTok the other day, but that's neither here nor there. So let's break down some of the things that are great about this phone, starting off with this massive front display. So the display this year is a 6.5 inch full HD plus display, and honestly, the way they've got it set up now, you could probably just use this exclusively and not even worry about that inner display, which is kind of unheard of for foldables. Like, it's actually funny going back and looking at the original Fold and how useless that front display was, how big the bezels were, how stupid it looked. When I picked this up, it just feels like a regular phone in my hands, and then the second I want more screen real estate or to watch a video or to multitask or whatever the case is, you're able to just throw this open. And now you've got an 8-inch dynamic AMOLED that is just absolutely stunning. And again, I thought foldables were a gimmick. This is my first time using a foldable. So when Samsung sent this over, I kind of thought to myself, there's never going to be a time when I actually want to pick this up and open this and use this inner display. But it's actually so useful. And because it's so comfortable in my hands, I find that I use this basically any chance that I get. As I said, that front display, you can use it for everything. It's a nice, easy typing experience, super, super comfortable. Everything's intuitive. Some people complain about the aspect ratio being so narrow, but honestly, I tend to like it a lot. But like I said, once you open this up, you got so much more space. It splits the keyboard, which some people might like, some people might not. I have large hands, so I prefer if the keyboard stayed the same all in the center instead of that, split in half sort of setup. But honestly, it's just been really, really good and very, very fun to use this inner display, but not like a niche thing at all. Because not only is it perfect for your regular day-to-day stuff, so sending emails, watching videos, whatever the case is, it's honestly the perfect setup for social media as well. So when you're on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I just like the way that it has everything set up. So you got your main video or whatever picture here, you've got all of your interactions on this side, and then everything else, your tabs, etc. on the left, very clear cut. And it's like that for pretty much every app that you use. It also doesn't have that weird quality drop off when you're watching Reels and TikToks. Everything still looks super crispy. A question I get a lot about this is that center hinge noticeable? And I think it's the same as previous years. If you're running your finger over it, you can definitely feel it right there. But when you're actively using this, your eyes aren't picking up the hinge unless you're intentionally, going side to side trying to find it. I think that using this, you're going to be totally fine and find it a very nice experience where you're not noticing that at all. Like, look at this. This is an iPad mini 4 next to the Fold 7. I mean, technically you do get more screen real estate on the iPad, but in terms of overall usefulness and the fact that, you just fold this down and it fits nicely in your pocket. This is what it looks like in your pocket. Like, boom, fold it down, fits perfectly in the pocket. No issues here. Yeah, my iPad mini also fits in my pocket, but it definitely doesn't fit as easy. And like I said, doesn't have the same functionality as this guy here. And for you gamers out there, I'm not somebody that plays a ton of games on my phone. I do play a lot of chess.com, which is pretty much perfect for this display. Like, it just looks beautiful. But if you're into those other games, real games like Call of Duty and all that stuff, then you're welcome to play it on this outside screen. Still looks great. But the fact that you can open this up, you've got all that screen real estate. And if you're ambitious like me, you've got something like this, a Backbone controller or whatever controller it is that you own. Like, this does look absolutely ridiculous, but at the same time, it's also kind of sick. Just this massive handheld screen for gaming. It's crazy. And I guess the last thing to talk about are these 3 cameras right here, because Samsung did make a pretty big deal about these. So they do have one of the cameras from the S25 Ultra, which is that 200 megapixel main shooter. The complaints come in with the ultra wide and telephoto being, I think, 10 and 15 megapixels. Now, in all honesty, I've taken a lot of photos and I've taken a lot of videos with this phone as well. Sure, if you want to nitpick about that ultra wide and the telephoto lens, I mean, you definitely could, but in 2025, it's very hard to find a smartphone that doesn't take at least half decent photos. So if you are going to be using those other 2 lenses, I mean, it's not like the pictures are going to be terrible. You have to zoom in and really be one of those pixel peepers. But if you're someone that's, you're taking a picture because you're on family holiday, or you're taking a picture to just send to the group chat real quick or post on IG or whatever, no one's going to give a damn what camera you're using, especially if you then go to that 200 megapixel camera and you start shooting with that one. Like, I don't get the complaint. Well, I do get the complaints because, like we said, this is a $2,000 US phone. I think it's $24.99 in Canada. So you expect the upper echelon, the best of the best, the most bleeding edge cameras out there, which fair, but like, you're not really buying this phone for that. I think for what this phone is intended to be, for all of its intents and purposes, it's an amazing phone. There is very little to hate on when it comes to actually using this phone on a day-to-day. You can sit there and look at the spec sheet all you want and nitpick and find all the things and look at, that $14.99 phone over there has these cameras and the battery's bigger, and that $9.99 phone over there, okay, maybe, the cameras aren't as good, but the battery's better than this one. You can sit there and you can do all those comparisons. And yes, it does suck that this phone is as expensive as it is, but in terms of the overall product, everything as a whole, coming off that spec sheet and into this little work of, almost dropped it. Coming off that spec sheet and turning into this little work of engineering that is the Fold 7, you really can't find much better than this. In all honesty, as somebody who mains an iPhone 16 Pro Max, I'm fortunate enough to be able to use an Android and an iPhone simultaneously, 2 SIM cards, all that stuff. As someone who is fully ingrained in the Apple ecosystem, I think that the best 2 phones out right now, at least that I've tested and in my opinion, are the S25 Ultra, not perfect, but overall package, and then the Fold 7. Like, honestly, Samsung's doing a lot of things right now. Are there other phones out there that do certain things better? Maybe even a foldable that does certain things better. And I'm not taking anything away from those brands. They make fantastic phones. However, the overall package, I think Samsung's got it right now. But as always, man, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. So feel free to drop me a line down below and let me know what you think about the Fold 7. What do you think it's missing? What do you think they need to put into the Fold 8 to make it actually worth that price tag? Or is it even possible to make it truly worth the price tag that it's at right now? Because I think we're paying a very high premium for that whole folding mechanism. But either way, that's been it for me. Much love as always, throwing up 2 of them, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.